Listen up, you guppies! The enemy is evolving and invading our lands. The time to strike is now! We need you to deploy our elite force of mosquito fish and neutralize the enemy. Mosquitoes will breed in many backyard standing water bodies such as green swimming pools, ponds, and fountains. Mosquito fish are a natural method of control and will stop the enemy before they evolve into fully fledged fighting machines. This will reduce the mosquito population and promote safer communities for all of Hillsborough County residents. Report to hcfl.gov/mosquitoes for more information on how you can prevent mosquitoes. Good luck, guppies. Make me proud.
So you have now completed your emergency plan for your family. How about a plan for this family member? Protect your pets during a disaster by including them in your family's emergency plan. Start by making your pet a disaster kit. Put all paperwork into a large Ziploc bag, including a picture of you and your pet, your contact information, vaccination information, and special care instructions. In addition, you should pack certain items to help your pet during the emergency. A 7-day supply of food with bowls, a travel crate, and your pet's favorite toy. Remember, shelters are the place of last resort. Your plan should include being far away from the disaster's epicenter. But if you do find yourself at the shelter, know the rules. Once at the shelter, your pet will be placed in a designated animal section. This is for your pet's safety, as well as other shelter residents. Knowing the shelter rules helps everyone stay safe during an emergency. For more information about shelters, their location, rules, and how to get ready for a disaster, go to hcfl.gov/staysafe.
Morning. Welcome to the April 9th, 2024 land use meeting of the Hillsborough County Board of County Commissioners. Would everyone please rise for the pledge and invocation given by our chaplain, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning with thanksgiving and praise in our hearts for who you are and your great love for all people. This morning we pray a special prayer for all of those that are serving in our military. We pray for protection over their lives. We pray for their families. And we pray for all of the residents of Hillsborough County, that it is well with them in their spirit, soul, and bodies. And we ask you to bless this meeting in your holy name. Amen.
Thank you, Commissioner Cameron Cepeda. Before Mr. Grady goes over the changes to the agenda, Commissioner Kemp's participating virtually, so if we could have a roll call to show attendance.
Good morning. Good morning. Hagan,
Here.
Cameron Cepeda,
Here.
Cohen,
Here.
Kemp,
Here.
Myers,
Here.
Owen,
Here.
Wolstel.
Here.
You have a quorum, sir.
All right, thank you. Mr. Grady.
Good morning, Commissioners. Brian Grady, Hillsborough County Development Services. We do have a number of changes to the agenda, but in addition to the withdrawals, continuances, and remands beginning on page 3 through 5 of the agenda, we have the following changes to the agenda. The first is on page 10, item B11, Simmons Village North, aka Spencer Glen North. The revised report has been added to the record of the correct performance bond for placement of lot corners amount from $28,080 to $28,070. Second change is on page 11, item C1, MVCA LLC and Falkenberg Capital LLC. Staff is requesting continuance of this item to the May 7, 2024 Board of County Commissioners Land Use meeting at 9 a.m. Next change is also on page 11, item E1, PRS application 24-0064. Staff is requesting continuance of this to May 7th Board of County Commissioners. That's all right. Huh? Wait a second. The Board of County Commissioners Land Use meeting at 9 a.m. On, please. I'm sorry, that's not. That's the typo on the agenda. That should be for item. Let me continue through this. On here that's not listed. On page 11, item E2, PRS application 24-0279. Additional party records have been added to the backup. On page 13 of the agenda, item F2, rezoning PD 23-0776. A revision to condition 2 is being proposed as follows to provide clarity regarding the permitted animals that are on site. It's basically adding condition only associated with a licensed or certified psychologist providing on-site treatments to the animals be permitted on site, and also requiring a maximum pound provision for the 2 pigs that are permitted on site. The other change that is not listed on the agenda is item B3. This is rezoning petition PD 23-0785. Staff is requesting this item be continued to the May 7th Board of County Commissioners Land Use meeting at 9 a.m. And again, just to clarify, E1 that's listed on page 11, that is not continuing item. On page 11, item E1, PRS 24-0064. We apologize for that. That's a typo. That is not continuing. Again, that was intended to be item B3, which is the consent item, which is continuing to May 7th, 2024 Board of County Commissioners Land Use meeting. Apologize for the error, and that's all the changes and continuances.
All right, can we have a motion to approve the changes?
Second.
Motion of Commissioner Wallstill, second Commissioner Cohen. Please record your vote on the changes to the agenda.
Yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
All right, can we have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion Commissioner Wostel, second Commissioner Cohen on the consent agenda. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Kemp, yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
All right, so anyone here for a B item, your application's been approved. This time, if anyone wishes to speak during today's meeting, will you stand, raise your right hand so the clerk can swear you in?
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Grady, you want to introduce the first item?
First item is agenda item E1, PRS application 24-0064. This is a request for a modification to a .33 acre parcel that's located on the north side of Sun City Center Boulevard, west of Upper Creek Drive, the intersection of Upper Creek Drive and Sun City Center Boulevard. The request is to increase entitlements for retail office uses from 100 to 3,500 square feet. The parcel is permitted a billboard and presently right now 100 square feet of retail office. Also as part of this modification, they're clarifying the type of uses that would be permitted in that parcel to CG uses with a number of uses restricted as outlined in the conditions. Staff has reviewed this and is recommending approval. We also coordinated with DOT, and DOT is not an objection to these changes since, again, access through to Sun City Boulevard is a road regulated by DOT. So, again, we're recommending approval and available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, is the applicant here? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Tu Mai. Office address is 14031 North Del Mabry Highway, Tampa, Florida 33618. I'm here representing the applicant. PRS 24-0064 is a minor modification from the previously approved petition allowing for a billboard in 100 square feet of retail commercial office uses to 3,500 square feet of limited CG uses. The subject parcel is located on the north side of State Road 674 and approximately 650 feet west of Upper Creek Drive. It is in the urban service area and in the Sun City Center community plan. Total land is 0.34 acres. The minor modifications to the PD are as follows. 1, an increase from 100 square feet to 3,500 square feet of CG restricted usage, which we provided a list of the limited uses in the initial filing. 2, the access point driveway on State Road 674 was previously approved and has been slightly shifted to the east after having 2 meetings with FDOT to discuss the project. DOT has no objections to the proposed access point. And lastly, an administrative variance request was submitted to the county engineer to waive cross-access requirement to the adjacent property to the west. The county engineer found it approvable on March 4th. To conclude, all agencies have reviewed the project and have no objections. Thank you to Development Services for their findings. We respectfully request the board's approval for this petition. Thank you.
All right, is anyone here in support of the application? Anyone in opposition? Can we have a motion?
Move approval.
Second.
A motion to approve Commissioner Owen, second Commissioner Wostel. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Kemp, yes.
Motion carried, 7-0.
Next item.
The next item is agenda item E2, PRS application 24-0279. The applicant's Tampa Electric Company. This is a request for a minor modification of planned development that's located on the northeast of the intersection of Bierce and North Nebraska Avenue. The request, again, is a minor modification of PD to make a number of changes. Those changes including providing an option to provide for required sidewalks on 12th Street to be along the east side of 12th Street as opposed to the west side in order to assist with preservations of trees, which is required as part of the conditions of approval along 12th Street, making for traffic calming purposes and pedestrian safety access designs on Sinclair's Hills to provide for an option for a roundabout for the project's access onto Sinclair Hills Road, and then also making modifications to the recreation area that's located on the north side of Sinclair Hills Drive that is a private park for the employees and guests to provide for parking spaces and access on the West Lake Borough Drive for that for that facility. Commissioners, we do also have one proposed addition to the conditions of approval. We have recently received a number of communications from residents in areas concerned about the roundabout precluding basically traffic going eastbound on St. Clair's Hills from turning left onto West Lake Borough Drive. Therefore, would add a condition to condition 8.2, which addresses the option for the roundabout. The condition would read, furthermore, the roundabout shall be designed and located so as not to preclude eastbound traffic on St. Clair's Hills Road from making a northbound left turn onto West Lake Borough Drive. And with that change, the staff again is recommending approval and available for any conditions. Any questions? Thank you.
All right, is the applicant here? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, Michael Brooks, 400 North Tampa Street, Suite 1910, here on behalf of Tampa Electric Company. I understand that there are some concerns about one of the elements of the PRS change related to a roundabout on St. Clair Hills Road. And if I could respectfully ask for this item to be moved to the end of the agenda, while we'll have an opportunity to maybe recalibrate the conditions.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yes, board members, this is in my district, significant concerns with safety issues that would be created by adding the roundabout, which coincidentally, the reason why the roundabout was recommended was to address traffic calming. So it's somewhat ironic, but can we please have a motion to continue last
So
item?
moved. Second.
Motion, Commissioner Cohen, second Commissioner Wostel. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Kemp, yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
And before we move on, I just want to say I do appreciate the applicant working with staff to address that. All right, next item.
Commissioners, the next item is agenda item F1, it's rezoning PD 23-0540. This is a request to rezone a 16.96 acre parcel that's located on Old Gibsonton Drive, northwest of the interchange between Gibsonton Drive and I-75. Again, the request is rezone from RSB and ASC1 to planned development to accommodate 101 townhomes based on the proposed site plan and the location of buildings and proposed setbacks and buffering and screening. Staff did find this compatible with the surrounding development pattern and is recommending approval. Planning Commission found it consistent with the Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan and also the applicable community plan. And the hearing officer also recommended approval. And we're available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, is the applicant here? Good morning.
Good morning. Franco Otero Casio, 13014 North Del Mabry Highway, Tampa, Florida, 33618. We're requesting to rezone the property to allow the 101 units. And I know the main concern with the neighborhood is the compatibility, but I wanted to start off my presentation by saying that we had originally submitted this application 2 years ago, and based on their concerns, we withdrew the application to try to fit their concerns. And we restructured our project, and we got the recommendation from all county staff and EPC, the Planning Commission, et cetera. And then I wanted to note on my presentation too that the site plan, based on the county recommendation, that our site plan exceeds the requirements of the Land Development Code, Section 6.06, buffering and screening. So we're going above and beyond to make this compatible with the neighborhood. And concerning with the traffic analysis, we did have a traffic engineer license, Michael Razor. He's a well-known person in this industry, and the county staff approved his traffic analysis with the condition that we add a walkway along Gibsonton Drive to alleviate some of the pedestrian walkway to be safer. And again, I want to close saying that, again, we restructured our site plan. We withdrew the application. My client actually repaid the application fee to restructure the petition to meet the neighborhood concerns. And again, by ending, I want to say that, again, the county staff, the Planning Commission, the EPC, all agencies found my application compatible. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any proponent testimony? Anyone in support of the application? Opponent testimony. Those in opposition, please come forward. You have a total of 10 minutes.
Good morning. I'm Dominic Pafundi. I live at 9910 Alafia River Lane in Gibsonton. I'm opposed to the development the way it's shown right now. I'm not opposed to developing it. Obviously, Mr. McAvoy bought that property to do something with it and not just, let it be there to support the foxes and the turtles. But I guess I have one question. I had written a letter before the last hearing, and I know I sent it in more than 2 weeks ahead of time, and they were supposed to review it as part of the review process, and I don't see where anybody from the county looked at that. So I have a lot of things in there besides just traffic issues that I was concerned about. And there's a lot to read about this, but the only thing I saw was that, the neighbors are concerned about traffic. So I'm concerned about that. So just, looking at the plan in general, they have, the publicly accessible park is just a small strip of the woods up by the river that they probably can't develop anyhow. There's like at least a 20-foot drop off. And they're showing, the other thing is they're showing, this is a planned development, so I'm assuming it's supposed to be more than just a housing project. It's got to have other amenities. So they're showing a boardwalk and some docks for the residents. The only thing is, it's like a 20-foot drop-off, and they'd have to have a handicap ramp to get down there that's like 250 feet long or more for the public to actually access what they're showing they put in. Plus, the county is not the ones who supply they don't give permission to do that sort of a project. I read that in there where, that's a separate issue. So, you guys might approve this zoning change, and the nice part of the project can't even be approved by the county. I don't know who else approves it, maybe the Port Authority or something. The other thing is the site plan shows a cross-access on Wiggins Road, but then in the other meeting, they said that's not going to be built. So, as a matter of fact, they don't even own the property. So everything's getting funneled out of Old Gibsonton Road. And right now, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that intersection, but the Old Gibsonton Road part of that intersection is a disaster. Both edges of the road are worn away, the shoulder's worn away, and it's a mess. And now with the contractor's traffic study, it shows it going from 2,586 vehicles a day to 5,793 vehicles a day. And I know there's a lot in the traffic study, and your own people reviewed it and didn't have a problem with it, but maybe they never went and looked at this intersection. It's a mess. It should be, if they're going to allow this kind of development, they need to almost recreate what's across the street coming out of East Bay Road. It really needs an upgrade, and the plan is to not have the contractor do anything, and as a matter of fact, give them a waiver for upgrading the road, other than putting in a sidewalk for the pedestrian traffic that doesn't even exist there. What else do I have? So anyhow, in their application, they talk about, a lot of keywords, a lot of buzzwords. Oh, they're going to supply, stuff that goes along with the Greenway plan. Well, if you can't get your boat down there to the boat dock, there's no help with the Greenway there. They're showing that they have open space. Well, there's open space written on the plan, but they're about the size of a picnic table in a few different locations. And then the workforce housing that they're promoting, how many workforce housing projects have boat docks? That's not what's going on here. And I don't think the boat docks will ever get built. And I think we're just being, sold a plan that's, maybe in the future they'll come up with a change after they get this rezoning. But right now, it's, with what's proposed, it's too dense. You're going from a big portion of it's 1 acre or 1 house per acre to 6. So, and I also have a problem with, I read in there, it's like 0.2 acres of a wetlands. I think there's more than that there, and there was so much to review, I couldn't really tell where they were coming up with the 0.2 acres. So, that's what I got.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your comments. Next speaker.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. I live in the neighborhood, and we've already talked about the roads, we've talked about the buildings, but I want to let you know there's a...
Sir,
yes?
your name for the...
Robert Hawley.
Thank you.
I'm on the list of speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, and I just want to say that this is our neighborhood. It's all single-family homes, all along Old Gibsonton Drive. It's all fairly upscale, single-family homes. But throwing a high-density, 1,300-square-foot apartment complex or a condominium complex into the middle of a single-family home neighborhood will have a detrimental effect on all the people that live back in there, all of them. Many of these houses are on the water. Many of them are very high-value houses. I don't live in one of them, but it's that way. And the whole area is fairly quiet, fairly subdued. All the roads are dead-end roads. You come in on a dead-end road, Old Gibson Drive, and you turn down our street, Alafai River Lane, which dead ends into the river. It's all single family. Now, I am for development of that property. Again, we have a homeless problem on it, and there are other issues in there, people coming and going. And we would look forward to villas, single-family homes, many other, but a high-density, low-sized apartment complex doesn't fit in there at all. Now, if they wanted to build them some condominiums with, 1,800 or 2,000 square feet, that's a whole different subject. There would be fewer of them, yes, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for fewer. We're looking for lower density. The whole area is low density. Many of the houses are on 2 or 3 acres. Many of the properties in the area, our neighborhood is probably the highest density in the area, and we're on 1/3 of an acre lots. And there are 17 lots, and everybody that lives in there, it's a comfortable, nice fit. I've been in there for 23 years since I built in there. I love it there. It's nice. It's quiet. I don't think the installation of a high-density project into a low-density neighborhood is a fit. It's just not a fit. It's not good for anyone. I don't know what else to tell you. I mean, we've already talked about the rules, and I went over it, and I sent letters, and I explained to you how I thought it violated many of the policies that you had about putting developments next to each other and the shielding required and the separation. But some of the things that I've heard are just confusing to me. I mean, they want 10 feet or 20 feet of separation a lot of times. My driveway is longer than 20 feet. So you're saying that at the end of my driveway, they should be able to put a housing complex with small efficiency apartments and stuff? I just don't know how that fits. I don't know how it would fit into any of your neighborhoods. I want to let you know how we feel about this. It is not good for us, and I have a lot of my constituents with me, the people that I work with is from the Homeowner Association, and they're here, and they feel the same way. You know, this is our neighborhood. This is the way we live. This is our way of life, and we feel like it's in danger. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in opposition? All right, applicant has a 5-minute rebuttal.
Thank you. Again, all these concerns were brought up at the magistrate hearing, and let me start by saying that we are not doing a high-density apartment complex. We're doing a single-family detached housing, which is a little bit different. And again, our traffic analysis was extensively reviewed by county staff. It was submitted a few times. It was, again, approved by county staff. I believe legal also looked at it. And it was done by a reputable licensed engineer. And all the data was confirmed to be accurate by county staff. I just wanted to say that. And the wetlands was accurate because we actually did 2 wetland studies, 2 wetland surveys, and the acreage is correct. So it wasn't something we put out of the air. We actually spent a lot of money doing the wetland surveys. We actually did 2 to confirm the numbers. And our data is accurate, and it was confirmed by the county staff that our data that was submitted, again, to answer his concerns that we're not trying to pull a fast one. All our information was done by professional licensed people. It was reviewed by county staff, and it was found to be accurate and to facts and conclusions of law. Again, another thing, the docks is something that my client, the owner of the property, it is a beautiful property. The whole area is beautiful. We know the concerns of the neighborhood. That's why when we originally submitted this application over 2 years ago, we withdrew the application knowing that we have to start from scratch again, pay all the fees, meet with county staff several times on several occasions. I want to say we met with staff over a year and a half going back and forth addressing these concerns. They would actually receive the letters they wrote, and they would send us the message, these are their concerns, what can you do about it? We would go back to our engineer and site plan, and we retreat the site plan to meet their concerns, and then going back and forth with county staff, we came to the site plan that was approved at the last hearing. Again, with a compatibility situation is, compatibility basically doesn't mean similar structures. It means different structures living in compatibility and harmony with one another. I have brought this up at the magistrate's hearing. And again, we are doing a single-family detached housing townhome project. And based on the future land use, the 101 units are what is allocated to us by county ordinance. So we're not going above and beyond what is allowed to us. We're doing within the guidelines of the Hillsborough County. So again, I want to also state that we came to the county with a blank piece of paper, and we studied the Gibsonton plan. I know the Gibsonton plan I could do a term paper, I could say in college with it. We came with a blank piece of paper. This is the Gibsonton plans concerning open parks, access to the river. The walkway which they mentioned is not useful. It is useful because Gibsonton is an up-and-coming neighborhood, and for years and decades, you guys know better than I do, the infrastructure, the amount of money that has been put in Gibsonton with sewer and water lines. It was all set up for a development like this to happen. And it also states in the Gibsonton plan that the county can't do it all by themselves. They have to partner up with the private sector, private money, working together with the county and the neighborhood and the homeowners association, working in conjunction. And I felt this petition, I've done a lot in my career, that this was the most extensive review of any petition I ever submitted. It was reviewed not once, but twice. We've done several surveys. We've done several engineering analysis to back up our data and to confirm the data. Again, the wetlands acreage is accurate. All the data has been reviewed by county staff. Again, the Planning Commission applauded our application and thanked us for working with the neighborhood. And in ending, again, the docks of course, the property is beautiful property. My client has spent a lot of money throughout the years paying taxes. He's going to pay a lot of money in impact fees to improving Gibsonton. And he's all in working with the county. The docks are basically something that, yes, might be for future development, but obviously we threw in the docks in there to have an amenity of a property like that. So will it be built or not be built? That's to be seen. But again, in closing, I just wanted to say that we've done our best to work with the neighborhood, met with the association, submitted the application not once but twice. every agency that we dealt with
Thank you, sir.
approved our application.
Appreciate your comments. Planning Commission?
Thank you. For the record, Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is designated as Suburban Mixed Use 6 on the future land use map. It is in the urban service area and also within the limits of the Gibsonton Community Plan as well as the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. The proposal is consistent with future land use element policy 1.2 and 13.3 as it relates to minimum density as well as environmental considerations. There are approximately 0.4 acres of wetlands on the site, and given that there's a separate approval process for wetland impacts with the Environmental Protection Commission, and they currently do not object, Planning Commission staff finds this request consistent with Objective 13 and associated policies in the future land use element, as well as Objective 3.5 of the Environment and Sustainability section. The subject site is generally surrounded by single-family residential uses. The proposal meets the intent of the compatibility policies outlined under Objective 16 of the future land use element, as the proposed townhomes complement the range of existing residential development in the area. The proposed plan development also meets the intent of the Gibsonton Community Plan and the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. The proposal supports Goal 2 of the Gibsonton Community Plan by providing townhome units in an area with mainly single-family detached dwellings. This will contribute toward providing a range of housing choices. Furthermore, the proposal supports Goal 2 by providing sidewalks on the roadways fronting the new development. The proposal also supports Goal 4B and Goal 5 by developing an amenity area with the public access to the Alafaya River. The South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan discusses integrating environmental resources like the Alafaya within development plans, as well as encouraging development with public access to the shoreline. The proposed plan development meets the intent of this environmental objective in the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the plan development consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services. Thank you.
Hearing Master?
The zoning hearing master considered the request to rezone 16.96 acres from residential show business, RSB, and ASC1 to plan development to develop 101 townhomes with a maximum building height limited to 35 feet, which is the same maximum height for the single-family homes located immediately to the east. The Development Services Department staff testified at the zoning hearing master that the proposed both buffering and screening will meet or exceed the requirements of the Land Development Code. During the ZHM hearing, testimony in opposition was presented with concerns primarily regarding compatibility with the surrounding area and the possible negative impact on traffic conditions. The zoning hearing master noted that the overall area is a mix of residential and commercial land uses. County transportation staff does support the rezoning. The proposed zoning conditions limit the project to one full access point on Old Gibsonton Drive. The zoning hearing master concluded that the approval of the plan development zoning with the conditions proposed by the Development Services Department will serve to provide a compatible land use in the area and recommended approval.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Myers?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd just like to thank the developer for working with the community and resubmitting your plans twice to hear and address their concerns. And I also want to thank those who've expressed their comments this morning that you all were able to work together, but in the end, you all did not. But I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to approve, to move for approval.
Okay, we got a motion to approve. Commissioner Myers, do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Commissioner Cohen. Commissioner Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Adam, on the one of the speakers mentioned a workforce housing component. That's not part of this.
It is not part of the regulatory control on this. There's no requirement for workforce or affordable housing, and none of the density is dependent on that type of housing.
And what about the wetlands argument as well? We've obviously vetted that, and there's not any.
Yes, at the time that they come into permit, if we will ensure that there is a properly delineated wetland, they may have it in hand now. We don't have any concerns about the delineation of the wetlands on the site. The site has been reviewed by EPC, and we have no objections to that.
Yeah, and as far as Port Tampa Bay, we don't have any, is there any communication we have to make with them on this particular development?
No, they would be involved with the permitting on the docks, but that is not anything that's unusual or that we would call attention to for this application as being problematic.
Good. Yeah, and I want to thank the speakers again. This is not my district, but I do want to thank the speakers as well for coming out. And listen, I get it. I grew up in Brandon, Riverview area. I wish a long time ago we actually would approve some of these rather than waiting and denying a lot of single family and townhomes because they turned into apartments later. That's one of my concerns about South County and those particular areas that are starting to develop more and more. So I'm going to be supporting it as well, but I do want to thank the speakers for coming out today. Thank you.
Commissioner Wallstrom?
Thank you. And I heard something about 1,300 apartments, but this is only 101 townhomes. And I know that the argument was density, but this already has a future land use of 6 units per acre. It's not currently entitled, but I know that some folks don't understand, but we can't rate them lower than that because that would then be a violation of what's already granted to the property. We can't go back and say, well, we're going to change the future land use to Res 4, right? That would be illegal to do, right? Okay, so do we know when this was entitled to SMU 6? When was this flu written?
I believe it would have been entitled or planned for SMU 6 for quite some time, perhaps even at the outset of this community, this comprehensive plan, so maybe late 80s, early 90s.
Right. Okay. For that point and that point alone, I'll be supporting the item.
Commissioner Cohen?
Thank you. And Commissioner Wassall, I'm on the same page as you on this. My read of this, and this is to our staff, is that they're already entitled for 83 single-family homes on this property if they were to go that route.
Commissioner, that's what the current zoning would support from a numerical standpoint. So yes, they do already have entitlements on there. They do already have residential show business zoning that allows some diverse uses on the site.
And to the issue of the compatibility, I was studying the map, and it's very clear that everything to the east of this property has some kind of mixed-use designation attached to it. It really, you can see, is very much part of a natural border. So for the same reason, I'm also going to be supporting it. But I wanted to say why. Thanks.
Commissioner Kemp?
Yes, and I was going to say exactly what the Commissioner Cohen and Whistle have just pointed out, in that it already had this comprehensive plan designation allowing for much of this development. And I appreciate the speakers coming down. I can appreciate where you're coming from, but this is a designation that is already, that has been set out, I guess, maybe decades ago. So thank you for coming, and I will be approving as well.
All right, got a motion to approve. Commissioner Myers, second Commissioner Cohen. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Kemp?
Commissioner Kemp, yes.
Motion carries 7-0.
F2.
Next item is agenda item F2, rezoning PD 23-0776. The request is for a rezone of 1.4 approximate acre parcel located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Balm Riverview Road and McMullen Loop Road. The request is to rezone to allow for a professional office and medical office in a 1,784 square foot building, and also provide for a 600 square foot additional building for housing of therapy animals. As noted in the changes agenda, we did modify condition tying the therapy animals to on-site psychologists being on site. Staff did review this, and based on the proposed layout and buffering required compliance with required buffering and screening is recommending approval, and we're available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, is the applicant here? Good morning.
Yes, good morning. For the record, my name is Patricia Ortiz. My address is 2810 North Central Avenue, Tampa, 33602, and I'm here today on behalf of Dr. Monica Lake. As Brian explained, we're seeking a specific and undefined use. It's called a nurturing village, and it's intended to provide therapy to neurodivergent populations. That would be people who suffer autism, ADHD, social anxiety, learning disabilities, and other similar conditions. This is a contemporary approach to mental health, and the specific intent of the doctor is to remove barriers associated with mental health and contribute to the overall well-being of the family and the community through education, and that would be education of parents, teachers, siblings, and caretakers, to provide counseling and emotional support to the neurodivergent and their caretakers, and to create an environment that fosters overall well-being. It seeks to provide financial services and therapy in the form of animal therapy and water therapy. Again, the intended outcome is to improve relationships and assistance with services that are much needed for this neurodivergent group. The farm animals that will be used for therapy are limited in type and number, and they will be housed in a barn. Since we were before the zoning hearing master, we have worked with staff to tighten up conditions numbers 2 and 3, which speak to specific design elements of the barn and the weight of the pigs, and then they tie the association of animal or the use of animal therapy to the licensed psychologist. And with that, I can answer any questions that you might have.
All right, thank you. Anyone here in support of the application? Anyone in opposition? All right, Planning Commission?
Thank you, Melissa Leinhardt, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is designated as Residential 6 on the future land use map. It is located in the urban service area and within the limits of the Riverview Community Plan and the South Shore Area-wide Systems Plan. The proposal meets the compatibility requirements of future land use element policy 1.4, as the character of the area contains a wide variety of uses. The overall area includes residential, commercial, and public institutional uses, with the more intensive uses located along Balm Riverview Road. The proposal meets the intent of future land use element objective 16 and its accompanying policies that require new development, infill, and redevelopment be compatible to the surrounding area and character. The proposed building and site design is sensitive to the existing residential uses to the east. The site does not meet commercial locational criteria per future land use element policy 22.2, as the site is located approximately 2,000 feet away from the nearest qualifying intersection of US Highway 301 and Balm Riverview Road. Per future land use element policy 22.8, the applicant is seeking a waiver to commercial locational criteria to allow for a medical use in the existing building with an accessory structure. The site has been designed to ensure sensitivity with the nearby residential properties, and rezoning for an office use would be in character with the other non-residential uses in the area. Therefore, Planning Commission staff recommends the board grant the waiver to commercial locational criteria. The subject site is in the Highway 301 corridor district in the Riverview Community Plan. The goal of this corridor is to provide a safe, attractive, and efficient corridor system that contributes to the character and economic well-being of the community and provides a sense of arrival. The proposed use meets the intent of the community plan by proposing a non-residential use in an existing residence while orienting the accessory structure and the stormwater pond area away from the residences to the east. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services. Thank you.
Hearing Master.
The zoning hearing master considered the request to rezone 1.49 acres from ASC1 to plan development to develop a medical type professional office which will include the use of therapy animals and the use of the existing swimming pool for water therapy. The zoning hearing master noted in the report that testimony in opposition was presented during the hearing focused on the proposed therapy pigs and turkey, possible smells that would emanate from the animals. Development Services Department staff testified that the subject property would be allowed by the Land Development Code to have more animals than proposed by the applicant given the parcel acreage size. The applicant testified that the proposed barn will be enclosed and is located on site in a location that provides the greatest setback from residential properties. The applicant has agreed to a zoning condition that would limit the maximum size of the barn to 600 square feet and require that the barn be enclosed. The zoning hearing master recommended approval of the plan development zoning with the conditions proposed by the Development Services Department, finding that this will serve to provide for a compatible land use in the area.
All right, thank you. Commissioner Owen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this is fascinating what you all are doing. I've never met a therapy pig before, but I would like to get Commissioner Wostel one of those if that's a possibility. But I do think that this is a really fascinating. And Adam, you said that they're going to have, we put some conditions there where they'll have a psychologist actually on location at all times.
Yes, and that will on location while the animals are being used, and that will substantiate that they're being used for therapeutic purposes. So we appreciate the applicant working with us.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is not in my district, but I wish they do one in my district. So I'll move for approval.
We just might.
Okay, we have a motion to approve. Commissioner Owen, second Commissioner Wostel. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Kemp, yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right, thank you. F3.
The next item is agenda item F3, rezoning PD 23-0783. The request is rezone approximately 60.29 acre parcel that's located on the south side of Riverview Drive between east of I-75 and west of US 301 on the north side of the Alfire River. The request is rezoned to a plan development to allow for 249 single-family lots. Lot sizes would range from a minimum lot size of 6,000 to 8,400 square feet. Based on the surrounding development pattern, staff did find its approval with conditions. The Planning Commission found it consistent with the comprehensive plan, and the hearing officer also recommended approval, and staff's available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, the applicant here. Going once, going twice. Oh, please come forward. Don't be shy. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, how are you all? I am the applicant, William L. Williams, Jr., trustee. I don't know if you had any questions of me.
Sounds good. All right. Anyone here in support of the application? Anyone in opposition? Planning Commission?
Thank you, Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is designated as residential 4 on the future land use map. It is located in the urban service area and also within the limits of the Riverview Community Plan and the South Shore Area-Wide Systems Plan. The proposal is consistent with future land use element policy 1.2 as it relates to minimum density. There are approximately 2.5 acres of wetlands on the site. As the site is less than 25% comprised of wetlands, all 62.9 acres can be utilized to calculate density. The subject site is generally surrounded by single-family residential and public institutional uses. The proposal meets the intent of the compatibility policies in Objective 16 of the future land use element, as the proposed single-family detached dwellings complement the existing residential development in the area. The proposal includes lot sizes that range from 6,000 to 8,400 square feet. The larger lots will be developed in the southern portion of the site, which is along the Alafaya River. This meets the intent of future land use element policy 16.16. Furthermore, a 1.4 acre area dedicated to private community recreational uses will be developed along the Alafaya River, which meets policy 16.5 on providing community gathering spaces for sites with development of over 50 units. The proposed plan development meets the intent of the Riverview Community Plan as well. The proposal provides diversity in housing types by providing a range in lot sizes and uses, appropriate and compatible buffers, as well as transitions to existing and adjacent land uses. Furthermore, it aims to reduce density along the Alafaya River by developing larger size lots in the southern portion of the site. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services. Thank you.
All right, Hearing Master.
The zoning hearing master considered the request to rezone 62.9 acres from ASC 1 to plan development to develop 249 single-family homes. No plan development variations or waivers are requested. As you've heard, the Planning Commission staff supports the request and found the application to be consistent with the Riverview Community Plan and the Comprehensive Plan. The overall area was found by the ZHM to consist of residential land uses. County Transportation staff supports the rezoning. The zoning hearing master found that the proposed zoning conditions limit the project to one full access point onto Riverview Drive and an additional access stub out to the property to the east. The zoning hearing master concluded that approval of the plan development zoning with the conditions proposed by the Development Services Department will serve to provide a compatible land use in the area, and the ZHM therefore recommended approval of the application.
All right, Commissioner Myers.
Move for approval.
Got a motion to approve, Commissioner Myers. Do I have a second? Second, Commissioner Wostel. Commissioner Wostel.
Mr. Williams, I just wanted to say you accidentally made the chair's day by being so brief earlier.
Okay.
Well said. Commissioner Cohen.
I just had a quick question for the applicant. So you said that the larger lot sizes are going to be closer to the river, and I wondered how, I couldn't really tell from the site plan, how many of them are actually on the river?
7 to 10, whatever.
7 to 10.
Ultimately end up with.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we've got a motion and a second. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Kemp, yes.
Does that conclude?
Motion carried, 7-0.
Yes, sir. You're good.
Thank you for your consideration.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it.
All right, F4.
The next item is agenda item F4 is rezoning standard 24-0074. The request is to rezone approximately 18.33 acre parcel. The parcel is located in East County, east of Keysville Road, north of Lithia Pinecrest. The request is to rezone from agricultural rural, which provides for minimum lot size of 5 acres, to AS1 with restrictions. The AS1 district provides for a minimum lot size of 1 acre. The applicant has restricted the zoning to a maximum of 10 lots, whereas under their AS1 zoning, based on the project acreage, they could potentially get 18 units. It's based on the Res 1 plan category surrounding and zoning and development pattern. Staff is recommending approval with subject to the restriction. The Planning Commission found it consistent, and the hearing officer is also recommending approval. And we're available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, is the applicant here? Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. Todd Pressman, 202nd Avenue South, number 451, St. Petersburg. I have a PowerPoint, but I don't think I'll play it. I'll reserve it if needed. We've had no opposition. All the reviewing entities are in support. Just in short, it's rezoning from AR to AS1. We've worked out conditions with the staff, which they've agreed to and which we've agreed to. And being a smaller site, I think I'll leave it at that unless there's questions or someone is here, which I doubt. Thank you. Answer any questions you might have.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone here in support of the application? Anyone in opposition? Planning Commission?
Thank you. Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is designated as Residential 1 on the future land use map. It is in the rural area, and it is not located within the limits of a community plan. The intent of the rezoning is to rezone the subject site to meet the underlying allowable density in the Residential 1 category and match the existing zoning pattern and uses in the immediate vicinity. Objective 9 of the future land use element states that all existing and future land use development shall be made consistent with the comprehensive plan. Policies 9.1 and 9.2 allow for approving zoning that is consistent with the comprehensive plan and the future land use element, future land use map designation. The proposal meets the intent of future land use element objective 16 and its accompanying policies that require new development, infill, and redevelopment to be compatible with the surrounding area in character, lot size, and density. Objective 12-1 of the community design component require that new developments recognize the existing community and be designed to relate to and be compatible with the predominant character of the surrounding area. In this case, the surrounding land use pattern is mostly single family, and the proposed residential use will complement the surrounding area and its uses. Based upon those considerations, Planning Commission finds the proposed rezoning consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan. Thank you.
Hearing master.
The zoning hearing master considered the applicant's request for rezoning to the AS1 restricted zoning district. The property is 18.33 acres in size and is currently zoned agricultural rural, AR, designated residential 1 on the comprehensive plan's future land use map. The parcel is located within the rural services area. As you have heard, the Planning Commission staff supports the rezoning request and found it to be compatible and consistent with numerous comprehensive plan policies and with the overall comprehensive plan. The zoning hearing master concluded that the proposed rezoning to AS1 restricted with the proposed limitations on the maximum number of dwelling units and access points is compatible with the development pattern in the area. The zoning hearing master found that the request is consistent with the land development code and the comprehensive plan and recommended approval.
Commissioner Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And Adam, the applicant here could have actually done more lots, right? I see 18 lots as a possibility, and they're doing a lot less.
Yes,
so
they're voluntarily limited.
Yep, move for approval.
Okay, we've got a motion to approve. Commissioner Owen, second Commissioner Wilstel. No comments. Please record your vote on F4.
Commissioner Kemp, yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right, F5.
The next item is agenda item F5, rezoning PD 24-0142. The request is to rezone approximately 7.62 acre parcel that's located in the Palm River area on the south side of Palm River Road, east of South 50th Street and west of Maydell Drive. Again, the request is to rezone the parcel from RSC 6, which is residential single family conventional 6, which provides for single family detached and minimum lot size of 7,000 square feet, to a planned development to provide for 68 townhomes based on the development pattern and future land use designations in the surrounding area. Staff did find the request approval subject to conditions. The Planning Commission found it consistent with the comprehensive plan, and the hearing officer also recommended approval. And staff's available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Is the applicant here?
Thank you, Rebecca Kurt with Brooks and Rocha, 400 North Tampa Street, Suite 1900, and I do have a PowerPoint that they're pulling up.
I'm sure she'll still be speaking.
Tech issues here.
Thank you. Thank you for the assistance. I'm representing Lennar Homes in this case. It is a request to go from RSC 6 to a planned development for 68 townhomes. This is the general location map. We are where the star is. We are located between US 41 and 56th Street, which provides us with convenient access to downtown Tampa, the Crosstown Expressway, the I-4 interchange. This map shows that we are in a transitional area. The red is the commercial. The RDC 12 is the brown area, which is a duplex, 12 units per acre, and the blue PD are all actually for townhomes. We're 7.62 acres. The current use is an institutional use. It was a church that was closed in 2022. To the north of us is the Watt Temple. To the south of us is industrial uses. To the east and west is currently residential single family. We are in the Res 9 category. We do need a rezoning to meet minimum density, which we're required to meet into the urban service area. We are in an appropriate transition between the further density of the RDC 12 and the Res 6. We also have provided some buffers along the southern border to provide an appropriate buffer to the industrial to the south of us. We have 30 feet with a type C buffer, and the buildings will be oriented to the center so that they will be facing internal, and the back of the project will be to the 30-foot buffer to the south. We are going to be hooking up to City of Tampa water and sewer. There are lines available adjacent to the property. We are in the middle of many community uses where there's been a lot of investment by the county, including 2 middle schools, including the one that is for this particular property, which has a sidewalk all the way to the Palm River Elementary School. There's a fire station, a library, and several parks, and a magnet middle school. We are on Route 8, which goes from downtown to the Brandon Mall. The transit stop is directly adjacent to our property. And again, I had mentioned that there's been a lot of county investment in this area, including drainage projects and park improvements and road improvements in this area. We are in the Greater Palm River Area Community Plan. There are a number of policies that we further which has been further delineated in the Planning Commission's recommendation of support. We are compatible in this area, and we've employed several design techniques to ensure that compatibility. I did mention that our building envelopes will be internal to the project. We have a community gathering space adjacent to Palm River Road, which allows sidewalk connectivity. We have a non-wall drainage pond adjacent to Palm River Road, which will increase the visual space, and we are meeting all buffers and setback requirements, and we are asking for no waivers or variance from the Land Development Code. At this time, I'm going to ask Steve Henry to come up for the transportation.
Good morning, Steve Henry, Links & Associates, 5023 West Law, Tampa 33607. This project, currently the current property has 3 access points. We're reducing it to 1 access point with this proposed project. In addition, the current zoning would allow 45 single-family homes. We're proposing 68 when you look at the trip generation compared to the single-family versus the townhomes. We're actually a slight decrease, essentially the same amount of traffic for both what we're proposing versus what the existing zoning would allow. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, we have recommendations of approval from all agencies in the zoning hearing master. This is an appropriate transition location with great access to public transportation as well as road networks, and we respectfully request your approval. Thank you.
Thank you. Proponent testimony, anyone here in support of the application? Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioners. For the record, I'm Ken Tinkler with the Carlton Fields Law Firm, 4221 West Boy Scout Boulevard in Tampa, here representing Bell Shoals Church, the landowner of the property. As reflected in the record below and the hearing officer's recommendation, Bell Shoals is under contract with Lennar and supports this rezoning application. With me this morning is Pastor Scott Odom, the executive pastor of Bell Shoals, who will speak next. To provide some background, over 10 years ago, the First Baptist Church of Palm River Incorporated voted unanimously to merge with Bell Shoals and turned over all property, activities, and governance to the Bell Shoals Baptist Church of Brandon Incorporated. Since that time, the Bell Shoals corporate entity has been the sole member of the First Baptist Church of Palm River Incorporated, and therefore is responsible for making all decisions related to this property. The church that previously operated at this location over the last decade was a campus of Bell Shoals. Pastor Odom will provide some additional context as to the efforts that Bell Shoals has made in Palm River. As I expect you'll hear some discussion today about the title work related to this property, I'd like to point out that in the record are serious documents related to a covenant that was placed on the property and released last year by the Tampa Bay Baptist Association Incorporated, the Florida Baptist Convention Incorporated, and the Southern Baptist Convention, and by unanimous vote pursuant to the text of the document itself. We involved First American Title Insurance Company to ensure the process utilized will allow for the sale to be completed with title insurance in place. With that, let me turn over the podium to Pastor Odom, and we'd be happy to answer any questions after he speaks.
Thank you, Ken. Good morning. For the record, I'm Scott Odom, the executive pastor at Bell Shoals Church, 2102 Bell Shoals Road in Brandon, Florida. I'd like to thank the Board of County Commissioners for their leadership in our community. And this morning, I'll speak in favor of the rezoning application and the sale of the property. I'm joined today by a small contingency of the unanimous support of the members of Bell Shoals Church, and I'd like to ask those present to stand in their show of support. Thank you so much. To give you just some history, in 2014, the First Baptist Church of Palm River approached Bell Shoals about taking complete control of its operations and resources. They were unable to reach enough people to sustain the church and needed another church to assume all responsibility and leadership. And we did so. And for over the past 10 years, Bell Shoals has worked diligently to operate a campus of Bell Shoals in the Palm River community. Over those 10 years, we've had 3 different campus pastors and have used many different approaches to ministry. Over those 10 years, Bell Shoals has sent many families to the Palm River community and invested over $2 million. Currently, the facility needs an investment of $1.5 million to bring it up to standards that are safe and functional for ministry. The facility has mold, water damage, and is in gross disrepair in multiple buildings. Despite our best efforts, and like the original church that approached us, we were unable to sustain a viable ministry in the community. We just have not been able to reach enough people to sustain the ministry. We know firsthand that the Palm River community needs re-energizing and redevelopment for ministries like ours to thrive. Without reinvestment and redevelopment in the Palm River community, ministries like ours will continue to suffer. And we explored many different options for how best to move forward with our campus. However, after 10 years of Bell Shoals ministry at the Palm River facility, it became clear that the best path forward for us was for our church and community to sell the property. The funds from the sale will enable Bell Shoals to impact local schools, support ministry partners, and launch additional campuses to share the love of God in West Central Florida and beyond. In light of these present realities, on behalf of the members of Bell Shoals who invested in our community, we strongly support the rezoning application and sale of the property, as they will encourage economic growth and vitality to this underserved part of our community. Palm River needs revitalization, both spiritually and economically. This sale of the property will not only reshape the community, it will also sustain our ministry efforts with local schools and ministry partners for many years to come. Again, I would like to thank you for your work on behalf of the community and humbly request that you approve the rezoning application.
Again, thank you, Commissioners. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone else want to speak in support? All right, opposition? Anyone here in opposition? You have a total of 10 minutes. Good morning.
Good morning. Kim Allman, 520 South 56th Street, Tampa, Florida, 33619. I remember the Sunday that our district commissioner came in to our church to visit us. It was when she was running for her seat on this board. It was a pleasure to meet her and introduce her to our church members, our visitors, everyone who was there that day. We were in great support of her. I just want to let you know that we know that this decision you're making is not an easy one. We've been praying for you. We've been praying for ourselves. We've been praying for Bell Shoals. We've been praying for our community. We would also like to mention that, as you heard, the restrictive covenant deed was put into place prior to the merger of Palm River with Bell Shoals. And that merger was put into place. The purpose was to protect the church and the property from what you see happening today. I believe the lost souls, saving lost souls, is much more important than the millions they're going to gain as an outcome if you decide to vote for this. But that's my opinion. I heard it said that if you look at the dollar bill, you're going to see the words "In God We Trust." That was important years ago. It's important now, and it will always be important, no matter what's on that property. So we're hoping that you will vote in opposition of this. vote for a favor to keep the church. Let someone take over where Bill Scholes left off, where they couldn't do what they wanted to because our community is in such disrepair. And the last thing I'd like to say is that because we are questioning the validity of all the documents that were put in place without Palm River's notice or information or being included in any of it, we are filing a lawsuit to check the validity of all those documents. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Next. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. Eves Johnson, 2813 Coldwood Lane. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. We have two other people who will be speaking. I am the pastor of Christ Center Community Church that was born out of the adversity of the quick notice of moving out the building in 2 weeks. So since then, we had to work on, again, from the spiritual aspect of this, to listen, love, and lead. I heard someone just say that the community was lacking some spirituality. Well, we were the ones that was working with the homeless, those that were in need, as well as those in the drug, dealing with drugs like that. We appreciate this opportunity to let you know that in the spiritual aspect, the community still needs a church there to assist in matters that doesn't go down on the bottom line of a business transaction, but does in the life of people and the spirituality of it. Also, this is not a church versus church thing. This is a thing about right and righteousness. We know that you're elected to do the best that you can do for the community. We pray that you have seen or heard some of the things from the media that said themselves that this reeks of something being wrong. The $2 million that Scott said, well, someone was said, we asked for that information to see if it's true. It seems impossible because I helped with the budget, at least through some issue with the budget. We never saw that. As well as saying that we meet budget. The last budget sheet they had in February, which was about 2 weeks prior to our dismissal, showed they actually made more, brought more money in than it was required. So this funds really is an opportunity for them to use to reduce their debt. When he said that all these people stood up saying that they were members, Sunbiz was accessed about a year after we were terminated, and it showed there's only one person, meaning an entity, was actually a member. So with all this, we're asking that you really not just listen to the nice words, but and understand that we need something for the community. I stand here, as well as people behind me, for the spirituality for this. We understand, too, that this brought a lot of confusion and a lack of trust inside the community. We've still been working now as we waited for about 6 months inside Winston Park meeting and addressing those issues for the very people that the pastor of Bell Shoal said needed it. They need to know that Christ loves them and that we love them, and despite what is going on, we're still there for them. So we pray and ask that you look what we talked about right now as part of the consideration, not just the money aspect of it, but for the very people that you're elected to serve, who are asking, who want us to still be there, not necessarily inside that building, but to have a church in that area.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else in opposition? If not, the applicant, come forward, sir.
Good morning, Commissioners. Before I speak, I believe we have two that were going to speak by Zoom, Pastor Piggott and also Mr. Brad Monroe. My name is Robert Almond, 520 South 56th Street, Tampa, 33619.
I'll ask for them to speak after you. You have a total of 4 minutes and 48 seconds.
Okay, very good. I will go ahead and start then. Good morning, Commissioners. I'll be speaking to you this morning from two perspectives: the church, and as a lifelong resident, the community. Throughout time, it's always been the local community church that has provided hope, help, and healing to the people of its community. While celebrating all of the many joyous occasions with community and families, the church is also there to help those who might be hurting, for those who might need prayer for a loved one who is sick or dying, for a marriage on the brink of collapse, or maybe a prayer for someone who's just having a bad day. The local community church has been there. Families experiencing hardships for whatever reason, who need a hot meal, food for their pantry, or maybe even clothes. The homeless who need everything. Maybe someone hooked on drugs, wanting to break their addiction, or someone in recovery who's in danger of relapsing. Just to mention a few, the local community church has been there. For 95 years, Palm River Church, the local community church, was that church. It has helped all of those I've talked about and many more. This church has also been used for a YMCA after-school and summer program facility. It's been used for community and county meetings, and also as a voting precinct. I urge you to deny this rezoning and prevent Lennar Homes from tearing down this local community church, a church which was protected by the restricted covenant deed that you've heard about, that was thoughtfully put in place before Palm Rivers and Bell Shoals merged. In order to continue to offer hope, help, and healing, our community, Palm River, needs a church on this property, not townhomes. I'm going to speak real quickly now on some community issues. I know we got two other people behind me now. First thing, I don't know who's to blame for telling this board that this property is rezonable. I don't know if it's the county planning staff or the rezoning board, but being a lifelong resident of Palm River, I can tell you they did not do their due diligence on this matter. I want to discuss Palm River Road. Palm River Road is designated as a subpar roadway, and rezoning findings said it would be an undue burden on the developer to correct. That's a huge problem in our county today. Approve developments and don't worry about the roads or the problems it will cause in the community. Saying that, I would like you to think, if you're a parent or a grandparent, if we build 68 townhomes, children are going to be children. They're going to want to go to the local convenience store. We have an elevated railroad track between this property and the 7-Eleven. There are no sidewalks to the west of this property for these children or adults to go to this 7-Eleven. Is it going to take another death or accident at this railroad track before somebody says enough is enough? It's constant. Drive the street and you'll see what I'm talking about. Traffic is terrible already. Flooding, a huge issue. I live on the street directly next to the church, but on the north side, which leads to the river. All drainage flows from this property that we're discussing through the homes to the north to the river. The county has been on our street the last 2 months correcting flooding problems from just summer storms.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Appreciate your comments. An applicant has a 5-minute rebuttal.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Chairman. Were there people online that wish to speak?
Their 10 minutes is up.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. We do understand that there is a difference of opinion in the community on this. We do believe that we have provided substantial competent evidence that this is a compatible and appropriate transitional use. The zoning allows other uses in the church today as it currently stands, and we have support from the Planning Commission, your planning staff, and the zoning hearing master. We feel that we have appropriately demonstrated the compatibility of this project, and we respectfully request your approval. I'm available if there are any questions.
All right, thank you. Planning Commission.
Thank you, Melissa Leinhard, Planning Commission staff. The subject property is designated as residential 9 on the future land use map. It is located in the urban service area and also within the limits of the Greater Palm River Community Plan. The proposed planned development is compatible with the development pattern in the area as required by Future Land Use Element Policy 1.4. The area surrounding the subject property is developed with a variety of uses. A religious institution is located to the north, and to the east and west are single-family homes and vacant land. To the south is a light industrial use developed with a warehouse for a wholesale building product distributor. The proposed residential development is compatible with the character of the area. The proposed planned development is consistent with the neighborhood protection policies outlined under Future Land Use Element Objective 16. Specifically, Policy 16.2, which calls for gradual transitions of intensities between land uses. The proposed development is consistent with this policy direction as there is a 30-foot Type C buffer proposed along the southern property line. Furthermore, the buildings will face the middle of the property, leaving the rear of the buildings to face the 30-foot Type C buffer and the light industrial uses to the south. The Greater Palm River Community Plan encourages development that's compatible with the existing community patterns that maintain and enhance the community's unique character and sense of place. The plan also desires to support well-designed, compatible densities and intensities at appropriate locations and require new developments to include open space that is connected to public trails, natural systems, community parks, bicycle routes, and the Greenway Master Plan. The proposed site plan has determined the location of the community gathering space, which is to the northwest corner of the property adjacent to Palm River Road, where there is an existing sidewalk and potential for pedestrian connectivity. The proposed site plan meets the intent of the Greater Palm River Community Plan. And based upon those considerations, Planning Commission staff finds the proposed plan development consistent with the unincorporated Hillsborough County Comprehensive Plan, subject to the conditions proposed by Development Services. Thank you.
Hearing Master.
The zoning hearing master considered the applicant's request to rezone 7.62 acres from RSC 6 zoning to a planned development to allow for the development of a maximum of 68 townhome dwelling units. The site is currently developed with a church. The zoning hearing master noted that no planned development variations or waivers are being requested with the application. The Development Services Department staff has found the request to be compatible with the existing development pattern. County Transportation Review staff did not object to the request for 68 townhomes. The project access is limited to one access point onto, Palm River Road, which will align with the temple across the street. Transportation staff found that the 24-hour two-way traffic volume for the maximum number of multifamily residential units is slightly more than the currently permitted single-family development under the RSC 6 zoning district. The increase in traffic when compared with the existing entitlements is negligible for the total AM and PM peak hour vehicular trips. The developer will be required to provide a 5-foot wide sidewalk along the project frontage on South 56th Street. Testimony in support was provided during the hearing and entered into the record. And much of that testimony was provided by the pastor of the subject church, who stated that the church was not sustainable economically and was closed. An attorney representing the church submitted a copy of the First Baptist Church of Palm River Restrictive Covenant and Merger with Belschel's Church of Brandon, recorded on April 23rd, 2013, to refute opposition and show that the agreement was private. It is noted that the Assistant County Attorney at the zoning hearing master hearing stated that restrictive covenants and/or private agreements in which the county is not a party are not pertinent to the review of a rezoning application. Testimony in opposition was summarized. Testimony during the ZHM hearing focused on the agreement between the prior and current church and an obligation regarding the use of the property for a 20-year period. Additional concerns were expressed, generally involving traffic, worsening of flooding conditions, sidewalks in the area, and type of clientele that might reside in the townhomes. The zoning hearing master concluded that the residential future land use category, which surrounds the subject property with the exception of the parcel to the south, which is designated light industrial, supports the request for townhome residential development. The zoning hearing master found that approval of the PD zoning with the conditions proposed by the Development Services Department will serve to provide for a compatible land use in the area, which is consistent with the Land Development Code and the comprehensive plan, and for the foregoing reasons, recommended approval.
All right, Commissioner Myers?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'd like to just thank all of those who are here, particularly those who came in support of the project and those who were in opposition of the project. And the first speaker spoke that I did visit the church when I was a candidate in 2019. At that time, the church was thriving, and I noticed this morning on the screen, the church closed in 2022. I want to be clear to all of us that government does not get involved in private matters, and this is a private matter. Truly, to me, this is a private matter that is in my district. I'm going to move for approval of this project.
Second.
Now we got a motion to approve. Commissioner Myers, second. Commissioner Cohen, Commissioner Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And yeah, I find myself in a situation, I love both these churches. I know a lot of you sitting here today, the majority of all of you all, and puts me in a situation here where, you know, I've got folks that I respect, care about, and love on both sides. And I want to kind of build a little bit more. This is not my district, but I do want to build a little bit more on what Commissioner Myers just stated, just for the purposes of the public, for how we sit as quasi-judicial here in a situation where we're dealing with zoning and how we are limited. We are limited to the comp plan, to the land development code, and to community plans. And there's a lot here said today that may be good arguments. You know, whether or not there's reversionary interest, deed restrictions, chain of title issues, all that kind of stuff. That is not something, Mr. Gormley, correct, that we as a body here look at or examine, correct?
That's correct. That is outside the scope of what you're reviewing here today for this land use application.
Yeah, and I would say the applicant, we don't look at issues with the facilities and problems that the church has. And I would say to the folks, you know, in opposition that, as Commissioner Myers just stated, we can't necessarily look at the church and its involvement in the community. We are kind of bound and restricted to the comp plan, the land development code, and the community plans. I wanted to also ask a question, Adam, on the, there was some mentioning about stormwater, coastal high hazard areas. Could you expound on that for a second and for the public's purposes, let them know where we were at on our, go ahead.
Yes, sir. So if this project were approved, once it came in to be permitted for development, the stormwater needs of the site will be assessed based on all the impervious area that's proposed. The project will need to meet our stormwater design requirements, which will ensure that there is not a post-development increase in the rate of discharge from the pre-development. So the effect of developing the site is they're going to have to maintain their own stormwater capacity and not increase the rate of discharge from its condition today. So that will be something that is looked at as part of the development of the site and permitted both by the county and by Southwest Florida Water Management District.
Okay, great. And on the, I know there was a mentioning of the railroad tracks issues. I mean, obviously we're dealing with CSX and passive and a whole nother ball of wax that we don't need to get into today, but you know, I should know this road like the back of my hand. I've driven over it 1,000 times, but I can't remember. Is this a passive or?
It's an active
crossing. It's an active
it
crossing with gates.
Bars,
okay,
yes.
so it does have all the safety. Yes. Okay. Very good. Yeah. And again, like I said, I'll just reiterate that there's a lot here when you're looking at bylaws and chains of title and deeds. I've made a full career out of it, and those arguments just aren't for this particular body right here today. So we are limited to the comp plan, the community plan, as well as the land development code, and that is why I'm going to be supporting it. Thank you,
Commissioner
Thank you, Chair. Staying in the realm of the fact that we are sitting as quasi-judicial, there's actually now new case law specifically from Judge Wolf that ruled against the county and halted Taylor Morrison's construction on their property, citing the fact that if it was allowed to continue, there would be no recourse if the person petitioning against us prevailed and Taylor Morrison was allowed to continue to build and construct their homes and sell their homes, there wouldn't be an avenue for the potential prevailing party to be compensated. Isn't that correct, what Judge Wolf recently ruled until he made his final decision on the temporary halt of the sale of their property?
Commissioner, I believe that was an issue that was an injunction early on before the actual trial took place. I understand that there were some conditions that went with that injunction that were not able to be satisfied, and therefore the injunction against sales was not attached. In terms of this project here, I heard it was mentioned today that there either was or will be a lawsuit.
Is there a lawsuit? Do we know that? That's my point. If there is one, we could create potentially unnecessary monetary damages to both parties if we move forward right now and some party prevails in a way that works against our decision, especially since we just went through this with Taylor Morrison.
My understanding is, yes, there is a new lawsuit that is filed concerning the restrictive agreements between the parties. Again, that is not a matter that the board can take into consideration in reviewing the rezoning. Additionally, it's an occurrence that has occurred since the zoning hearing master hearing, so it really should not be considered by the board. We, again, are confident that the involved parties have remedies in the civil system outside of the county. This is not something that they can have considered before the board at this time.
But if we know that there's case law that exists against us and we say, so you're saying that we have to say yes today in light of that there might be, though there is now evidently an already filed lawsuit that could go against our very decision and create more turmoil for them in the court system.
Sorry, Commissioner, just to be clear, the lawsuit does not involve the county. To my understanding,
would our decisions today impact any existing lawsuits then?
No. It's possible for the parties to pursue any remedies outside of this board proceeding. What the board is being asked to do on a rezoning does not impact the parties in that proceeding.
So a lawsuit that's going against evidence that's submitted to our record about these restrictive deed covenants, if a judge in some way rules that he does agree with the plaintiff, you're saying that wouldn't impact our decision, and us saying yes on a rezone, that wouldn't impact?
Correct. The board is required to disregard any sort of private disagreement or pending lawsuit involving the private interests between parties that the county is not involved with.
Okay, well, I would just like to say that oftentimes since me sitting here, we've received responses back from the judiciary saying, hey, no, we disagree, and the applicants or plaintiff get what they want. So I guess I'll rest there. Thanks, Chair.
Commissioner Cohen.
In my experience, we do not ever enforce covenants between parties related to property. That takes place in the courts.
That's correct, Commissioner.
So I want to go back to what was said earlier, because I think it's really important to reiterate. We sit as a quasi-judicial body, and we essentially come to a legal conclusion here. And we have a three-legged stool where we have a zoning hearing master that's done an analysis. that recommends approval. We have our own staff that recommends approval. And we have the Planning Commission telling us that this is consistent with our various comprehensive plans and neighborhood plans. In order to overcome that, we need competent, substantial evidence presented in the record that makes some kind of compelling case for us to disregard that. And the only thing I heard today that even I think would qualify as that was the discussion about traffic. But our own staff analysis made the point that because of the entitlements that already exist, the impact on traffic of this project is negligible. So when you have that in the record, there really is no other alternative for this board but to vote for approval, in my view. It is not appropriate for us to consider things outside of just the record and the case when we're making this decision. And, you know, when we get the amount of passion and correspondence related to an issue that we do on an issue like this one, we pay very close attention to it. We make sure that we understand the nuances and the law related to the case. In this particular case, I believe that the law and the facts clearly indicate that approval is the appropriate thing.
Commissioner Cameron Cepeda.
Yes, I want to thank the church and everyone that, you know, has done so much for our community, that community, and over the many, many years. And I was originally planning to oppose this. However, after listening to this morning, you know, the church is already closed, and as I've mentioned here also, the church does not have the funds to reinvest to make the church sustainable. And it's so, you know, and they'll also be able to move to another location, a larger location, where they'll actually be able to do even more in the community. So for that reason, and also I'm glad to hear that there will be a sidewalk that would be required to be put in as well, which was one of the concerns there. So as I mentioned before, I had really planned to oppose this, but after hearing everything here this morning, I will be supporting this.
Commissioner Owen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll be fast. I just want to kind of clean something up. I think that you, Commissioner Wostel and Johanna, were talking about. We as a county, we do recognize judicial orders that come from district courts, Supreme Courts. I just want to make sure that we're clear on the record. We would recognize a judicial order, which is not in the record, correct, Adam? Is that, I want to definitely clean that up. Okay.
Yes, absolutely. If there was some direction judicial order to the county on this application, if it was approved, any permitting, we will absolutely follow that judicial order. And you know, if that results in a restraint on the development of the property, we will honor that order and proceed in accordance with it.
Judicial orders are always recorded, and at this time, we do not have any type of judicial order for injunctive relief or any type of, yeah.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Wostel.
Thank you. And it's not about enforcing a covenant. For me, it was that we remand things often in here pending facts that have arisen, including we remanded the oversize agreement, for instance, with Taylor Morrison, just so we could wait and hear what the judiciary had to say. So that's why I thought it was relevant for us to bring up the fact that there might be an avenue here where we maybe shouldn't be involved because we do create unnecessary burden on a pending lawsuit that we've been made aware of. Thank you.
All right, we have a motion to approve. Commissioner Meyer, second Commissioner Cohen. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Kemp, yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right, next item.
Commissioners, the next item of the related items is G1A and G1B. These items are both public hearings, and my understanding is the board can vote on both of these as a single motion. G1A is amendment to DRI 23-0591 Corporex Properties. And then G1B is a minor modification of the plan development associated with the DRI. That's PRS 23-0877. But both modifications are dealing with the same issue, dealing with a requirement regarding dual left turn lanes on Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard onto Orient Road, again, which is east of the project. Again, the project is located on the south side of Martin Luther King, just east of I-4. And again, working with DOT, the applicant is requesting that the requirement for the second left turn lane be removed. DOT is not objecting to the removal of that left turn lane. Therefore, based on that, transportation is supportive of the changes. Therefore, for both the G1A and G1B, staff is recommending approval of removal of that requirement associated with the DRI and also associated with the parcel that's subject of the PRS application, which is item G2B. And again, we're recommending approval both with subject to conditions and revised development order for the DRI. And we're available for any questions. Thank you.
All right, is the applicant here? Good morning, sir.
Morning, Commissioners. David Smith, Stearns Weaver Miller, Director of Development and Zoning, 401 East Jackson Street, Suite 2100. Staff did a very good job summarizing it. I'll just be very brief. This particular development is subject to a DRI. The DRI development order had numerous conditions in it. It's been in existence since '85. It's been a long time. The project is essentially built out. There are some vacant lots. The developer that originally developed the site has sold all the lots now. And we're just trying to clean up these conditions in order to recognize that the improvements that were anticipated to be needed for this, because of this development, have been demonstrated that they are, one, have problems in implementing them, and two, they aren't not needed based upon the build-out projection for this development. The development order reflects payment of mobility fees that allows the county to spend these dollars for subsequent development in the site where they feel fit, as opposed to turn lane improvements that are not needed or by the generation from this development. The PRS is associated with just removing the condition that was reflected from the development order and put into the PRS. Here to answer any questions. Hopefully it was fairly clear.
All right, thank you, sir. Anyone in support? Any proponent testimony? Anyone in opposition? Okay, can we have a motion for both the DRI and the PRS?
Second.
Motion, Commissioner Owens and Commissioner Myers. Commissioner Myers, you recognize? You good? No comments. Please record your vote.
Commissioner Kemp, yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right. Adam, can we go back to E2?
Commissioner, we have let Mr. Grady speak to E2, but I just want to put on the record that we have a change into the proposed conditions, working in conjunction with the applicant. They have agreed to remove the request for a traffic circle to be installed on Sinclair Road, and we are putting conditions into the record that are amended to reflect the removal of the traffic circle option.
Yes. All right, great.
Good morning again, Commissioners. Since this item has already been opened, I'll just repeat Michael Brooks for the record, 400 North Tampa Street, and I have been sworn. This is a PRS request to a plan development for what we call the Bears Operations Center. It is going to be a state-of-the-art resiliency and redundancy addition to our energy grid. Frankly, in short, it's a very important facility. And I have here with me Kristen Moore from Tampa Electric Company and Steve Lanks. Just to give you an overview, some of you weren't on the board at the time. The property is generally located at the northeast corner of Bears and Nebraska. It is, there's parcels that are bifurcated by Sinclair Hills Road, which is the area up to the north. Comes off of Nebraska. The facility is, or the approval is for 300,000 square feet of public service facility. But again, what that really means is that Tampa Electric and Peoples Gas are going to use this as a secured operations center where it will be able to communicate with all the other operation centers, all the other facilities remotely, and generally will be in place in the event of dark sky days where bad things happen. I'm going to, as an overview, I'm going to call them the primary parcel, which is the big parcel south of Sinclair, and the secondary parcel north of Sinclair. There's no change to the use of these areas, no change to the square footage, et cetera. The changes, and I'm going to start with the parcel to the north because it's easiest. This is an outdoor recreation area that will be private for company employees, invited guests. It'll be a place where retirement parties, award ceremonies, company picnics, things of the like will happen. It's currently approved for a gazebo, pavilion, some restrooms. The one change that we're making to the improvement in 1.4 is allowing up to 10 parking spaces. Those will be primarily used by catering trucks and things of the like for those events that I described. That is also happening in connection with a relocation. This is really touchy this morning. Sorry. Relocation of the existing entrance drive, which may appear to you to be non-conforming, and it is. Relocating it to Westlake RL Road up on the left-hand side, so that's the other circle, and so it will have safe ingress and egress. The PRS changes to the primary parcel. There's essentially 3 categories of those as well. There's a change to condition 3.1, which will allow for relocation of the sidewalk from the west side of 12th Street to the east side in order to preserve the existing vegetative buffer. And I've got a picture of that that'll be on the next slide. The second is the roundabout that I'll touch on at the end. And then the third condition change is 10.1, would allow the developer to design and permit a traffic signal based on projected traffic prior to opening. Given the unique nature of this facility, you don't want to be caught flat-footed on opening day and have access issues into and out of the facility. On the sidewalk, what the condition currently says is that to the extent feasible, the existing and healthy trees that exceed the minimum planting will be retained. That's a shot of that existing buffer from inside the site. What we discovered is, you can see that yellow on the left side of this slide, on the yellow highlighted area, because there's a ditch on the west side of 12th Street, those are all the trees that are going to have to be removed. And so what the change in 3.1 will do, it will, subject to the acquisition of some additional right-of-way at the cost and expense of TECO, it will allow TECO to redesign that current configuration and move the sidewalk to the east side of the road. And because there's no access and no interface with the TECO facility in 12th, frankly, we'll put the sidewalk on the side where the people are anyways. And there's a school down to the southeast, and it will connect to the new sidewalks that are being constructed by TECO along Sinclair Hills. I want to, for the benefit of just explaining what the idea was, and this concept for this roundabout may be caused frankly, some of the confusion, because it was just a concept, an idea. It's probably a little oversized in hindsight, but it left the impression with some that came to the community meeting that you would not be able to make an eastbound left turn on Sinclair Hills Road. That is not the case. And so the other thought was it would provide, or the rationale was, is we had heard from the residents that, and Mr. Chairman, as you had mentioned, traffic calming and accidents and speeding on this segment, we had heard from the neighborhood were problematic. And so we thought that we could address a number of issues with this roundabout, including having pedestrian access for the TICO employees from the east and or from the north and the south side of the roadway. I am told by my client that we are willing to, or they are willing to abandon the roundabout concept as part of the conditions. We do still think that it's a good idea, but we understand that there's been some opposition to it. Unfortunately, we just didn't have time to address it before you get here today. We do not have the ability to continue, unfortunately. We've got to get this facility open before hurricane season 2026, and so the clock is ticking. Mr. Grady, should I show the condition changes? If
We've
the board
submitted them into
so
the
desires?
record, and
Okay.
the condition changes are sufficient to remove a requirement or an option for traffic.
Is that essentially eliminating condition 8.2?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Yes, and there's some other conforming conditions, but essentially that is the main.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
That'll conclude my presentation.
All right, thank you. Anyone, any proponent testimony? Anyone here in support? Anyone in opposition? And I just want to thank the applicant TICO for, number one, being excellent neighborhood partners, and always being really the number one community partner in Tampa and Hillsborough County, in my mind, at least through the years, and your willingness to address this concern. My initial thought was, when I talked to Adam this morning, was, hey, let's just continue this and, you know, maybe get with the neighbors and work something out. But I understand the sense of urgency. I mean, I live down the street, so I drive by it every day, and certainly making progress. So, but I do appreciate your willingness to work with staff and the neighbors. And with that, can we have a motion?
Move approval.
Motion to approve, Commissioner Cohen, second Commissioner Myers. If no comments, please record your vote.
Commissioner Kemp, yes.
Motion carried 7-0.
Adam, do we have anything else?
That concludes.
All right, thank you. We're adjourned.